The Invitation Home, Beyond the Myth of Self-Fixing. You have been told a story. It's a story whispered by the world in 1,000 different voices, from the glossy pages of magazines, the urgent tones of life coaches, the curated perfection of social media feeds, and even from the anxious, striving voice within your own mind. The story is this: peace is a reward. It is a destination you arrive at after a long and arduous journey of self-improvement. It is the prize you win once you have fixed your life, healed every last scar from your past, and finally sculpted yourself into the best, most optimized version of you. Peace, the story promises, is the serene landscape waiting on the other side of a mountain of effort. This narrative is the unofficial scripture of our modern age. It promises that tranquility will come when you've landed the better job, when your bank account reaches a certain number, when you've found the perfect partner, perfected your body, disciplined your mind, and organized your life into a pristine, manageable state. Peace is the trophy on the mantelpiece of a life well lived and hard won. It is the final scene of a movie where the protagonist, after countless struggles, finally gets to breathe. But if that story were true, why do you still feel so unsettled after all the books you've read, the workshops you've attended, the resolutions you've made, and the sheer grinding effort you have poured into becoming better? Why does the restlessness remain? Why do the quiet moments, the very moments you've supposedly earned through your relentless activity, feel so deafeningly loud? Why does your mind, a machine you have been trying to tame and optimize, race with a frantic, untamable energy, when all you truly desire is rest? You lie in bed at night, the day's battles fought, the to-do list heroically conquered, and yet a storm of thought rages within. The silence of your room only serves to amplify the cacophony in your head, replaying conversations, pre-playing anxieties, judging today's performance, and planning tomorrow's strategy. The promised peace is nowhere to be found. The truth, a simple, radical, and profoundly liberating truth, is that the story is wrong. Peace is not something you earn. It is not an item at the end of your checklist, nestled between achieve inbox 0 and learn a new language. It is not hidden in a future, more polished version of you. Real peace, the kind that sinks into your bones, reacquaints you with a forgotten sense of wholeness, and remains steady even amidst life's storms, does not come from getting more. It does not come from chasing, striving, or fixing. It comes from letting go. It comes not from having more, but from needing less. Not from accelerating, but from stopping. It arises from stillness. It blossoms from seeing clearly. And for over 2.5 millennia, this quiet path has been held and illuminated by Buddhist wisdom. This is not a religion in the sense of a dogmatic rulebook to be followed, nor a faith you must adopt without question. It is something far more intimate, far more direct. It is a quiet invitation, a gentle, persistent call to come home to yourself. It is an invitation to stop believing every thought that flickers across the screen of your mind is an indisputable fact. An invitation to set down the heavy bags you've been carrying for so long, bags filled with others' expectations, past regrets, future anxieties, and the crushing weight of your own self-judgment, bags that were never truly yours to begin with. It is an invitation to finally, mercifully, stop chasing a version of life that has only ever made you tired. Tonight, as you allow these words to wash over you, something can begin to shift. This is not another exercise in self-improvement. It is an exercise in self-surrender. As you listen, you may feel your breath, once shallow and hurried from the constant race, begin to slow and deepen on its own accord. The clamor in your head may begin to soften its sharp, insistent edges, blurring into a gentle, distant hum. And from the depths of your being, a deep calm, the kind you had forgotten could even exist, will begin to rise. It is the feeling of a muscle clenched for decades, finally being allowed to release. You will remember in this quiet space that you are not broken. You never were. The feeling of being broken was merely the profound exhaustion that came from trying so hard to be something else, someone else. You were simply too busy trying to piece yourself together, not realizing you were already whole, a mosaic of light and shadow, complete in your glorious imperfection. This journey we are about to embark upon is not just a method to fall asleep. It is a way to wake up to the profound and unwavering peace that has been patiently waiting inside you all along. The tyranny of becoming a house under perpetual renovation. Let's look more closely at the architecture of our modern disquiet. We live in an age of perpetual becoming. The self is not viewed as a being to be known, but as a project to be managed. Imagine your inner life as a house. The dominant cultural narrative tells you this house is a fixer-upper. There are cracks in the foundation past trauma, the wiring is faulty. Bad habits. The paint is peeling your appearance and the layout is inefficient. Your productivity. Your entire life becomes a frantic, never-ending renovation project. You hire contractors in the form of therapists, coaches, and gurus. You buy blueprints from self-help books. You work overtime to fund the renovations, hoping that one day the house will be perfect. You tell yourself, when I fix that foundation, I'll feel secure. When I rewire the whole house, I'll be disciplined. When the exterior is perfect, everyone will admire me and then I can finally relax inside. But the project is never finished. The moment you fix one thing, you notice a dozen other flaws. The more you renovate, the more you find to renovate. You become so obsessed with the construction noise, the dust and the blueprints, that you forget to simply live in the house. You are a homeless owner of your own home, always camping in the yard, waiting for the day it's finally ready. This relentless process is fueled by a quiet but pervasive sense of inadequacy. The underlying message absorbed from 1,000 sources is you. As you are right now are not enough. This core belief is the engine of our collective suffering. It creates a fundamental split within us. One part of you exists in the messy, authentic, unpredictable present moment. The other part of you, the project manager, lives in an imagined, idealized future, constantly measuring the is against the should be. This inner division is the source of our deepest exhaustion. It makes it impossible to ever truly rest, because rest feels like neglecting the project. To simply be feels like failure. Let's revisit our character Alex. On the surface, Alex's house looks great. The career wing is newly extended, the relationship room has been recently redecorated, and the physical fitness gym in the basement is well equipped. Alex's morning routine is a flurry of activity, designed to optimize the house, a 10-minute meditation, to quiet the noise, journaling to analyze the blueprints, and a green smoothie to polish the fixtures. Yet Alex lives in a state of quiet panic. While sitting in a beautifully designed living room, Alex isn't enjoying the space, but mentally scanning for imperfections. The meditation wasn't deep enough today. The foundation of my focus is weak. I was irritable with my partner. The relationship room needs more work. Sarah just got a promotion. Her career wing is bigger than mine. Alex is a prisoner in their own beautiful, half-finished home. Every activity, even one designed for wellness, is co-opted by the project manager and turned into another task to be judged, another metric of success or failure. The goal is peace, but the method is one of constant, stressful striving. It's like trying to calm a muddy pond by stirring it more vigorously. The very act of trying to force the sediment to settle only clouds the water further. This is the central paradox the world has sold us, that we can fight our way to peace, that we can discipline our way to surrender, that we can achieve a state of non-striving by striving harder than everyone else. It is a fool's errand, a path that leads only to burnout, disillusionment, and a deeper sense of failure. Buddhist wisdom offers a different way, a radical alternative. It doesn't tell you to abandon the house or let it fall into ruin. It simply invites you to fire the frantic project manager. It asks you to stop looking at your life as a problem to be solved and to start seeing it as a reality to be experienced. It invites you to investigate the very nature of this self that seems so flawed and in need of constant renovation. Who exactly is this part of you that is so convinced you are broken? And what would happen if you stopped listening to it The first practice, acknowledging the exhaustion. The first step on this new path is not to learn a complex technique or adopt a new belief system. It is something much simpler and more courageous. It is to acknowledge without judgment the truth of your own experience. It is to finally give yourself permission to feel the profound exhaustion that comes from a lifetime of trying to be better, trying to be more, trying to be someone else. This is not a mental exercise. It is a somatic one. Feel this exhaustion in your body right now. Where does this striving live? Take a moment to scan your physical form. Is it a persistent tightness in your shoulders, as if you are bracing for a blow that never comes? Is it a clenching in your jaw, holding back words you're afraid to say? Is it a hollow ache or a fiery knot in your stomach, a testament to years of undigested anxiety? Perhaps it's a subtle but constant hum of tension behind your eyes, from a mind that never stops scanning, analyzing, and planning. For years, you have likely interpreted these physical sensations as urgent signals that you need to try harder, push further, do more. What if instead they are the compassionate messengers of your own soul? What if your anxiety is not a sign of your personal failure, but a wise and loving alarm bell screaming that the path you are on leads away from home, not towards it? What if the exhaustion is not weakness but a sacred signal that you are ready to set down your weapons and surrender to a different kind of strength? To let go is not to give up. It is not an act of passivity or resignation to a lesser life. It is an act of profound courage and supreme wisdom. It is the courage to stop believing the toxic story that your worth is conditional. It is the wisdom to recognize that the chase itself is the source of the suffering. When you are chasing a butterfly, you can run for miles, your heart pounding, your breath ragged, and come away with nothing but the wind from its wings. But if you can find it within yourself to sit still in the meadow, to become a part of the landscape, the butterfly may just come and land softly on your shoulder. Peace is that butterfly. It is not caught through effort. It is invited through stillness. This invitation begins with a simple, deliberate shift in attention. Away from the endless reel of future possibilities, back to the concrete reality of the present. Away from the intricate story of me, back to the simple sensations of the body. Away from the whirlwind of thought, back to the steady anchor of the breath. The breath is your most faithful and immediate guide. It is always with you, a constant, gentle rhythm beneath the chaos. It has been there for every joy and every sorrow. It asks for nothing. It makes no demands. It simply flows, a perfect model of non-striving existence. It doesn't try to inhale or struggle to exhale. It just happens. Let's try it again with a little more space. You don't need to change your breath, control it, or make it spiritual. The breath is already spiritual in its simple reality. Just allow your attention to rest upon it. Feel the distinct sensation of the air entering your nostrils. Is it cool? Is it dry? Follow that sensation as the breath travels down your throat and fills your lungs. Notice the gentle, rhythmic expansion of your ribcage and belly. There is no need to force this. Just allow it to be seen. And then feel the release as the breath leaves your body slightly warmer, carrying with it what is no longer needed. Just one breath, then another. In this simple, profound act, you have already stepped off the frantic treadmill of becoming. For a few sacred moments, you are not trying to fix anything. You are not analyzing, judging, planning, or regretting. You are simply being. You are intimately present with the living, breathing reality of your own aliveness. This is the path. It is not complex. It is not hidden away in an ancient text or a remote monastery. It is here, in this moment, in this breath. It has been waiting for you with infinite patience. A quiet revolution of being. What we are embarking on together is a quiet revolution. It is a rebellion against the tyranny of the conditional self, a gentle but firm refusal to continue participating in the exhausting project of self-fixation. It is a radical act of self-acceptance, not as a final goal to be reached, but as the very starting point of the journey. The great paradox is this: you do not accept yourself after you have changed. You accept yourself so that true, authentic change can happen naturally from a place of love, rather than a place of fear. This journey will ask you to unlearn far more than you learn. You will be asked to gently unlearn the habit of constant self-judgment, a habit that may feel as natural as breathing. You will be asked to unlearn the deep cellular belief that your thoughts are facts, that the voice in your head is the ultimate authority on who you are. You will be asked to unlearn the cultural hypnosis that has convinced you that your value is something external, something that must be constantly proven to the world. Instead, you will learn to listen in a new way, to listen to the subtle wisdom of your body, which speaks in the language of sensation, to listen to the vast, peaceful silence that exists between your thoughts, to listen for the quiet, unwavering presence that has been your faithful companion through every storm, every joy, every moment of your life. This presence is your true nature. It is not a project to be completed. It is a home to be returned to. The teachings we will explore in the chapters to come are not abstract philosophical concepts to be collected like intellectual trinkets. They are tools for seeing. They are maps drawn by those who have walked this path before, that point the way back to this home. We will explore the beautiful, liberating illusion of the solid self. We will stand in the rain of impermanence and learn not to fear getting wet. We will cultivate a compassion so vast it can hold our own pain and the pain of the world. We will discover the deep, nourishing rest that comes from finally, truly meeting life exactly as it is without argument. This is not a path of spiritual bypassing, of pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It is the opposite. It is a path of learning to hold your pain with such tenderness, clarity, and wisdom that it no longer defines you. It is about discovering a peace that is not dependent on circumstances, a peace that can coexist with sadness, with fear, with illness, and with uncertainty. It is a peace that is vast and courageous enough to hold the whole of your magnificent, messy human experience. So for now, let go of the need to understand it all. Let go of the need to get it right. The project manager in your mind will want a clear plan with measurable outcomes. But this is a different kind of journey. Simply allow yourself to be here, to be receptive. The only prerequisite is a willingness to be present and a longing for home. If you feel that longing, however faint, you are more than ready. Let the stories of who you think you should be fall away like autumn leaves from a tree just for this moment. Let the immense weight of the project of you be set down gently upon the ground. Feel the relief in your shoulders as you release that burden. You do not need to hold it all together anymore. Welcome home. Let us begin. The sky and the clouds unraveling the illusion of self-anatta. In our last chapter, we stood at the threshold of a quiet revolution. We acknowledged the deep exhaustion that comes from living life as a perpetual renovation project, the endless frantic effort to fix the self. We set down, if only for a moment, the heavy burden of becoming, and tasted the simple relief of being. But this raises a profound and pivotal question. If we are to stop renovating, we must first investigate the very nature of the house itself. Who or what is this self that we have been trying so desperately to improve, defend, and perfect? From the moment we could form thoughts, we began to construct it. We gathered materials from our experiences, from the words of others, from our triumphs and our failures. We built an identity, a story of me. This story is a collage of labels. I am a parent. I am an artist. I am anxious. I am strong. I have been hurt. I am a survivor. We hold this story so tightly, believing it to be the very essence of who we are. We believe this self is a solid, continuous, and independent entity, a core being who resides somewhere behind our eyes, piloting our body and mind through the world. We spend our entire lives polishing, protecting, and promoting this self. Our suffering, in large part, is the suffering of this self. When it is criticized, we feel attacked. When it fails, we feel shame. When it is threatened, we feel terror. But what if this solid, continuous self isn't real in the way we think it is? What if the being we are trying so hard to fix is in fact an illusion? This is not to say that you do not exist. Look down at your hands. Feel the breath in your lungs. There is undeniably a living, breathing experience happening right here. The revolutionary insight of Buddhist wisdom is not a denial of our existence, but a radical re-examination of its nature. It introduces a concept known as anatta, a Pali word often translated as non-self or not self. This is perhaps the most misunderstood yet most liberating teaching of all. Anatta does not mean you are nothing. It means you are no one thing. It posits that there is no fixed, permanent, independent soul or ego entity that exists apart from the ever-changing flow of your experience. What you call me is not a noun, but a verb. It is a dynamic, fluid process, not a static product. It is a constantly shifting constellation of physical sensations, feelings, thoughts, memories, and moments of awareness, all arising and passing away from moment to moment. To cling to any one part of this process and call it me is like trying to scoop up a handful of a river and call it the river. The moment you grasp it, the river has already flowed on. The 5 aggregates deconstructing the me. To make this less abstract, Buddhist psychology deconstructs our experience into 5 categories known as the 5 aggregates, or skandhas. These are the components that, when assembled, create the appearance of a solid self. Investigating them is the key to seeing through the illusion. Form rupa. This is your physical body, your bones, your skin, your organs, your breath. It is the aggregate of matter. We often identify with it strongly. I am tall. I am getting older. I am sick. But is this body a fixed thing? It is in a constant state of flux. Millions of cells are dying and being born every second. The body you have today is not the same body you had 7 years ago, or even 7 minutes ago. It is a process, not a static object. It is something you have an experience you are in, but is it the totality of who you are? If you lose a limb, are you less you? Sensation, feeling, Vedana. This refers to the raw feelings that arise from contact, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. The warmth of the sun on your skin, pleasant. The ache in your back, unpleasant. The feeling of your clothes against your body, neutral. These feelings arise, linger for a moment, and vanish, replaced by the next. We spend much of our lives chasing the pleasant and fleeing the unpleasant, identifying with them deeply. I am happy, I am miserable, but these are fleeting visitors. They are not you. You are the space in which they appear. Perception, sanya. This is the faculty that recognizes labels and conceptualizes. It's the part of the mind that sees a red shape and says apple. It hears a sound and labels it siren. It encounters a sensation and calls it anxiety. Our perceptions are conditioned by our past, our culture, and our memories. 2 people can look at the same event and perceive it completely differently. Our perceptions are useful, but they are not objective truth. They are mental constructs, not the essence of who we are. Mental formations, sankhara. This is a broad category that includes all our volitional activities, our thoughts, habits, biases, opinions, judgments, desires, and aversions. It is the voice of the inner critic, the pull of a craving, the force of a habit. These are the most active and often the most troublesome of the aggregates. We cling to our opinions as I think so, and our desires as I want. But thoughts are like clouds in the sky, forming and dissolving without a permanent owner. They are events in the mind, not the mind itself. Consciousness, vijnana. This is the fundamental awareness that knows or cognizes the other aggregates. It is the consciousness of seeing, of hearing, of tasting, of thinking. It arises in dependence on an object and a sense organ, e.g., eye consciousness arises when an eye meets a form. It is not a monolithic consciousness that you own, but a series of discrete moments of knowing that are also constantly arising and passing away. What we call I or me is simply the temporary, interdependent arising of these 5 processes. There is no CEO sitting in a control room behind them. There is just the flow. The suffering arises when we cling to this flow, when we build a solid identity out of these shifting sands and then live in constant fear of that identity being threatened. The sky and the clouds, a living metaphor. To truly grasp this, let's move from the analytical to the poetic. Imagine that your true nature, the core of your being, is the sky, vast, open, boundless, and unchanging. The sky is always present, always peaceful in its fundamental nature. Now, think of your thoughts, emotions, memories, and identities as the weather. They are the clouds that pass through the sky. Some days the sky is filled with dark, stormy clouds of anger or grief. On other days, it's dotted with fluffy white clouds of joy and contentment. Sometimes, the sky is obscured by a thick fog of confusion or doubt. And sometimes it is perfectly clear, brilliant and blue. The weather is always changing. No cloud is permanent. The stormiest of days eventually gives way to sunshine. The sunniest of days can be met with an unexpected shower. This is the nature of the weather. Now here is the crucial point. The sky is never harmed by the weather. The storm does not damage the sky. The clouds do not stain the sky. The fog does not diminish the sky. The weather simply passes through the sky. The sky remains the open, accepting space that allows all weather to be exactly as it is. Our fundamental error, the root of so much of our pain, is that we forget we are the sky. We believe we are the clouds. When a dark cloud of sadness appears, we say, "I am sad." We contract around it, identify with it, and believe that the entire sky has become this one dark cloud. We lose all perspective. When a flash of angry lightning tears through the mind, we say, "I am an angry person," and we fuse our entire being with that fleeting electrical charge. When a story of "I am a failure" drifts by, we grab onto it with both hands and make it our home, forgetting the vast, clear expanse that surrounds it. The practice of anatta is the practice of remembering that you are the sky. It is the process of learning to rest in your sky-like nature and simply watch the weather of your life unfold without clinging to it or pushing it away. You don't have to make the clouds go away. You don't have to fight the storm. Your only task is to stop identifying with it. Let's imagine our character, Maria. Maria's identity is, "I am a successful lawyer." This is a big, solid cloud she clings to. When she wins a major case, the cloud is bright and she feels expansive. She is the sky enjoying a sunny day. But when she loses a case, the cloud turns dark and stormy. Because she believes she is the cloud, the loss feels catastrophic. It's not just that she lost a case. It's that she, as a successful lawyer, is a failure. The storm feels like it will destroy the sky itself. Through practice, Maria begins to shift her identity. When the thought, "I failed," arises, she learns to greet it differently. Instead of, "I am a failure," she might notice, "Ah, there is a thought of failure. There is a feeling of disappointment. This is a storm cloud passing through." In that subtle shift of language and perspective, she creates space. She is no longer the cloud. She is the sky witnessing the cloud. She can feel the rain of disappointment. She can hear the thunder of self-judgment. But she knows on a deeper level that the sky remains untouched. The storm will pass. This is the freedom of non-self. It is not about becoming passive or indifferent. The sky is not indifferent to the weather. It is what makes the weather possible. It is about becoming more resilient, more spacious, and more compassionate. You can engage with your life, with your work, your relationships, your joys, and your sorrows with a newfound lightness, because you are no longer defending a fragile, fictitious identity at every turn. The freedom from self-defense. Think of how much energy you expend every day defending your story. Someone disagrees with your opinion and the "I am intelligent" identity feels threatened, so you argue, defend, and feel frustrated. You make a mistake at work and the "I am competent" identity is challenged, so you spiral into shame or blame. Someone else gets the praise you wanted and the I am deserving identity feels slighted, so you are consumed by envy. Our lives are a constant, exhausting battle to protect the borders of our ego. When you begin to see through the illusion of the fixed self, there is nothing left to defend. If someone criticizes you, their words are just clouds passing by. They don't have to land on a solid me. You can hear them, consider them, and let them go. There is no personal attack because the person they are attacking is a concept, not a reality. If you make a mistake, it is simply an action that occurred a moment in the flow. It is not a permanent stain on your identity. You can learn from it and move on without the heavy baggage of shame. If someone else succeeds, their success does not diminish you. Their light doesn't put out your own because you are not in a competition to prove your worth. You are both part of the same vast sky experiencing different weather patterns. This leads to a more authentic and responsive way of living. You move from reaction to response. You listen instead of preparing your defense. You learn instead of resisting. You collaborate instead of competing. You don't have to be a certain kind of person anymore. You just have to be here present with the unfolding flow. A guided practice. Recognizing the sky. Let's put this into practice. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you wish. Begin as always by bringing your attention to your breath. Feel the simple, unforced rhythm of life flowing through you. Now bring your awareness to the aggregate of form. Feel your body. Feel the points of contact with the chair or floor. Feel the temperature of the air on your skin. Feel the subtle thrum of energy within. Notice that these sensations are constantly changing. A slight itch, a feeling of warmth, a moment of tension. This body is a river of sensation, not a solid block. Acknowledge this process and silently say to yourself, this body is here, but it is not the whole of me. I am the awareness that knows this body. Next, gently turn your attention to the aggregate of feeling. What is the emotional weather right now? Is there a feeling of calmness, of restlessness, of subtle sadness or joy? You don't need to name it perfectly. Just feel its texture, its quality. See if you can watch it without judgment. Like a cloud, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is not you. It is a visitor passing through your awareness. Silently acknowledge, this feeling is here, but it is not the whole of me. I am the sky through which this weather passes. Now, observe the aggregate of mental formations. Watch your thoughts. You don't need to stop them. Just let them come and go. See them as sounds, as images, as words, drifting through the vast space of your mind. A thought about the past. A plan for the future. A judgment. A memory. Notice how they appear from nowhere and disappear back into nowhere. They are ephemeral, like writing on water. They are not who you are. Acknowledge this with the thought, these thoughts are here, but they are not the whole of me. I am the silent space in which these thoughts arise and dissolve. Finally, rest in that awareness itself, the consciousness that has been witnessing all of this. This knowing presence, it is not a thing. It is a quality of silent, open spaciousness. This is your sky-like nature. It is not defined by any cloud of thought, feeling, or sensation. It is the peace that has been here all along, obscured by the weather you mistook for yourself. Rest here for a few moments, simply being the sky, open, boundless, free. When you are ready, gently open your eyes. You have not erased yourself. You have met yourself more truly, not as a small, fragile identity, but as a living, breathing awareness that flows with life, instead of fighting it. The peace you are looking for isn't found in becoming a better cloud. It is found in remembering that you have always been the sky. The doctor's diagnosis, seeing clearly through the Four Noble Truths. In our previous chapter, we embarked on the radical practice of depersonalization. We stood back and observed the ceaseless flow of thoughts, feelings, and sensations that we have long mistaken for a solid, permanent self. We entertained the profound possibility that we are not the fleeting clouds, but the vast, unchanging sky in which they appear. This insight is liberating. It creates a space of serene witness, a quiet vantage point from which to view the weather of our lives. But from this newfound space, an honest question arises. If we are the sky, why do the storms still hurt? Why does the rain of sorrow feel so cold? The lightning of anger so searing, the fog of confusion so disorienting? Knowing we are the sky does not stop the weather. It simply stops us from believing we are the weather. And now, from this clearer perspective, we are ready for the next stage of our journey to become a wise meteorologist of our own experience. We are ready to understand the mechanics of the weather itself, why the storms arise, what fuels them, and the natural law that governs their eventual cessation. This is the very heart of the Buddha's core, teaching a framework so practical and profound, it has been likened to a physician's diagnosis of the human condition. These are the Four Noble Truths. The word noble here doesn't imply elitism. It signifies that these truths are ennobling. They elevate and free the one who understands them. They are not pessimistic decrees about the misery of life. They are a clear, compassionate, and empowering diagnosis and treatment plan for the ailment of our inner turmoil. They are the Buddha saying, "I have understood the nature of your disease. I have identified its cause. I can assure you there is a cure, and here is the precise prescription for it." Let us approach these four truths as a patient approaches a wise and trusted doctor with an open mind and a sincere desire to be healed. The first noble truth, the diagnosis of disease, dukkha. The first truth is a straightforward, unflinching diagnosis. There is suffering. The Pali word is dukkha, and this is one of the most crucial terms to understand. Our English word suffering often evokes images of intense pain, tragedy, and grief. Dukkha certainly includes this kind of obvious suffering, but its meaning is far broader and more subtle. It refers to a pervasive sense of unsatisfactoriness, a fundamental friction that exists in all conditioned experience. It is the low-grade anxiety of a life in flux, the subtle stress of things not being quite right, the feeling that something is always missing. Dukkha is the inherent instability of a life built on shifting sands. To fully grasp this, we can see dukkha in three distinct flavors. The dukkha of pain. Dukkha dukkha. This is the obvious suffering. It is physical pain, a headache, a broken bone, chronic illness, the pains of aging and death. It is emotional pain, the grief of losing a loved one, the sting of rejection, the despair of depression, the fear that grips you in the night. This is the suffering no one can deny. It is a direct and visceral part of the human experience. The dukkha of change. Viparinama dukkha. This is a more subtle yet profound form of unsatisfactoriness. It is the suffering that arises because everything we love and enjoy is impermanent. A beautiful sunset fades. A joyful gathering ends. A happy moment becomes a memory. Youth gives way to old age. Even the most blissful states are by their very nature temporary. Our suffering comes from our clinging to these pleasant experiences, from our desperate desire to make them permanent in a universe where nothing is. The anxiety of knowing that a good thing will end can poison the pleasure of the thing itself. This is the stress of holding on too tightly. The dukkha of conditioned existence. Sankhara dukkha. This is the most subtle and pervasive flavor. It is the background hum of unsatisfactoriness that comes from being a self made of the five aggregates we explored in the last chapter. It is the inherent friction of being a complex conditioned being in a complex conditioned world. It is the baseline anxiety, the existential angst, the feeling of being fundamentally vulnerable and groundless. It is the suffering that arises from our identification with the ever-changing, unreliable processes of our own body and mind. It is the deep, cellular knowledge that we are not in control. The first noble truth is not a pessimistic judgment. It is a courageous recognition of reality. It is the doctor saying, "Let's be honest about your symptoms." By acknowledging dukkha in all its forms, we stop pretending. We stop layering a secondary suffering of shame or guilt on top of our primary pain. We stop feeling that our anxiety or sadness is a personal failure. Instead, we see it as a shared universal truth of the human condition. In this shared truth, we find a strange kind of comfort. We are not alone in this. This is the first step toward healing, looking directly at our dis-ease without flinching. The second noble truth, the cause of the dis-ease, samudaya. Once the diagnosis is made, a wise doctor investigates the cause. The second noble truth does just that, and its finding is revolutionary. The cause of dukkha is craving. The Pali word is tanha, which literally means thirst. It is a deep, instinctual, and relentless thirst for things to be different than they are. It is the engine of our restlessness, the force that propels us out of the present moment and into a future where we imagine our thirst will finally be quenched. This is not a moral judgment on desire. A healthy desire to eat when hungry or to create something beautiful is not the problem. Tanha is a specific kind of desire. It is desire laced with clinging attachment and the deluded belief that satisfying it will lead to lasting happiness. The Buddha identified 3 primary channels through which this thirst flows. Craving for sense pleasures, kama tanha. This is the most obvious form. It is the thirst for pleasant sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and physical sensations. The thirst for delicious food, beautiful music, praise, recognition, and sensual gratification. We believe that if we can just get enough of these pleasant experiences, we will be happy. But the pleasure is always fleeting, viparinama dukkha, and the thirst soon returns, often demanding a stronger dose next time. This creates a cycle of addiction and dissatisfaction. Craving for existence. Becoming bhavatanha. This is the deep thirst to be someone, to become more, to continue our story. This is the fuel of the ego project we discussed in Chapter 1. It is the thirst for fame, for power, for reputation. It is the voice that says, when I become a manager, then I'll be respected and happy. It is the thirst for a better version of yourself. It is even the subtle spiritual thirst to become enlightened. This craving for being is rooted in our deep fear of annihilation and meaninglessness. We believe that by building a bigger, stronger self, we can secure our place in the universe. But since the self is an illusion, anatta, this is a project doomed to create constant anxiety and striving. Craving for non-existence. Annihilation, vibhava tanha. This may seem counterintuitive, but it is a powerful force. This is the thirst for something to go away. It is the craving to annihilate an unpleasant feeling, a painful memory, or a difficult situation. It is the voice that screams, I can't stand this anxiety anymore. I just want it to stop. It is the aversion, the pushing away, the resistance to our present experience. This can manifest as self-destructive behaviors, escapism through distraction, or even the desire for oblivion. We believe that by destroying what is unpleasant, we can find peace. But resistance is a form of clinging. We are clinging to the idea of a life without that pain, and this clinging only amplifies our suffering. Tanha, in all its forms, is the hand that clutches. It clutches at pleasure, it clutches at identity, and it clutches at the desire for escape. And this constant clenching is what creates the tension, the friction, the dukkha of our lives. Peace is not found by getting what the hand is grasping for, but by simply unclenching the hand. The third noble truth, the prognosis of a cure, nirodha. The third noble truth is the most hopeful and liberating message ever offered to humanity. There is a cessation of dukkha, because our suffering has a specific identifiable cause. Tanha, it follows that if we can eradicate the cause, we can eradicate the effect. This cessation is called nirodha. It is the complete fading away, quenching, and release of that very same thirst. This is the state known as nibbana in Sanskrit. Nirvana. Nibbana is not a heavenly paradise you go to after you die. It is a psychological reality that can be experienced in this very life. The word literally means to extinguish or to blow out, as one would blow out a candle flame. What is extinguished? The fires of greed, hatred, and delusion, the very fires fueled by tanha. What remains when those fires are extinguished is not a void, but a profound state of peace, clarity, and unshakable freedom. It is the peace that is not dependent on circumstances. It is the joy that exists without an object. It is the deep security that comes from no longer needing anything from the world to be whole. This is the cure. It is not a fantasy. It is a genuine possibility for every one of us. To know that a cure exists gives us the courage and inspiration to undertake the treatment. The fourth noble truth, the prescription for the cure, Magga. The diagnosis has been made, the cause identified, and the possibility of a cure confirmed. The fourth noble truth is the doctor's prescription, the practical path of treatment. There is a path leading to the cessation of dukkha. This path is called the Noble Eightfold Path. It is the middle way, a path that avoids the extremes of both hedonistic indulgence, constantly feeding kama-tanha, and severe asceticism, often driven by vibhava-tanha. It is a comprehensive guide to living an ethical, mindful, and wise life. It is not a linear set of steps, but 8 interwoven aspects of a whole and integrated way of being. The 8 factors are right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This path is the living, breathing expression of the first 3 truths. It is the way we learn to stop feeding the thirst, tanha, and cultivate the clarity and peace of nibbana in our daily lives. We will dedicate our entire next chapter to exploring these 8 factors in profound detail. For now, it is enough to know that there is a path. We are not left with a diagnosis and no way forward. We have been given a clear, practical, and time-tested map. A guided contemplation, applying the diagnosis to your life. These 4 truths are not meant to be abstract beliefs. They are a lens through which to view your own experience. Let's take a moment to apply them. Find a quiet space and bring to mind a situation in your life that is currently causing you a degree of dukkha. It doesn't have to be a major tragedy. It could be dissatisfaction at work, a recurring conflict in a relationship, a persistent anxiety, or a feeling of creative block. Choose one specific area of unsatisfactoriness. Contemplate the first truth without judgment. Gently acknowledge the reality of the dukkha in this situation. How does it feel in your body? Is it a tightness, a heaviness, a hollowness? How does it manifest in your mind as worry, resentment, frustration? Simply allow yourself to be honest about the symptom. Name it softly. This is a moment of dukkha. Contemplate the second truth. Now, with gentle curiosity, investigate the thirst, tanha, behind this dukkha. What are you craving? Are you craving for the situation to change? I will be happy when my boss finally recognizes me. Are you craving to become someone different? If only I were more confident, this wouldn't be a problem. Are you craving for an unpleasant feeling to disappear? I just can't stand this feeling of being stuck anymore. Be honest. See if you can identify the specific thirst that is fueling this fire. Contemplate the third truth. Imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to release that specific thirst. What if you didn't need your boss's recognition to feel worthy? What if you could be at peace with your current level of confidence? What if you could allow the feeling of stuckness to be there without fighting it? Feel the space that opens up in that letting go. This is not about solving the external problem. It is about tasting the inner freedom that comes from releasing the craving. This is a glimpse of nirvana. Contemplate the fourth truth from this place of spaciousness. Consider one small, skillful step you could take, not to satisfy the craving, but to walk the path of clarity. It could be an act of right speech, choosing not to complain about the situation for the rest of the day. It could be an act of right mindfulness, taking 3 conscious breaths the next time the difficult feeling arises. It could be an act of right intention, dedicating yourself to meeting the situation with patience rather than frustration. This is a single step on the path, the Magga. This simple contemplation is the 4 noble truths in action. It is how we move from being a victim of our circumstances to becoming a wise physician of our own hearts. It is a framework that empowers us, clarifies our confusion, and points us always in the direction of freedom. We are not lost. We have a map. And now, we are ready to take our first steps on the path it reveals. The Eightfold Path. Walking the middle way to freedom in the quiet clarity of the doctor's office, we have received a profound diagnosis. We have seen the reality of our disease, our pervasive unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. We have understood its root cause, the relentless clinging thirst of tanha. And most importantly, we have been given a hopeful prognosis. This condition is curable, and the state of lasting peace. Nibbana is a tangible possibility. Chapter 3 concluded by handing us the prescription, the magga or path to that cure. Now our task is to open that prescription and learn how to follow it, not as a set of rigid commands, but as a wise and compassionate guide for living. This guide is the Noble Eightfold Path. It is the very heart of Buddhist practice, the how-to manual for unraveling the knots of our own suffering. The image of a path can be slightly misleading if we imagine it as a linear sequence of steps where you must perfect one before moving to the next. It is more helpful to envision it as a magnificent braid of 8 strands, or a beautiful cable woven from 8 smaller wires. Each strand lends strength to the others, and the integrity of the whole depends on the presence of each part. You cultivate them all simultaneously, and as one strengthens, it naturally strengthens the others in a beautiful upward spiral of clarity and freedom. This path is also known as the middle way. It is a testament to the Buddha's practical genius, steering a clear course between 2 extremes he himself had explored and found wanting. The first is the extreme of sensual indulgence, the belief that happiness can be found by chasing and satisfying every desire. This, he saw, only deepens the thirst of tanha and leads to an endless cycle of fleeting pleasure and inevitable disappointment. The second is the extreme of severe asceticism, the belief that freedom can be found by punishing the body and violently suppressing all desires. This, he found, only creates more aversion, weakens the mind, and is itself a subtle form of craving, vibhava tanha, the craving for non-existence. The Noble Eightfold Path is the graceful, balanced, and intelligent way between these 2 dead ends. It is a path of mindful living, of seeing clearly and walking gently. To make it easier to understand, the 8 factors are traditionally grouped into 3 essential trainings. Ethical conduct, sila. This forms the foundation of the path. It is about learning to act, speak, and work in ways that do not cause harm to ourselves or others. It purifies our outer behavior, creating a life free from remorse, guilt, and inner conflict. This training includes right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Mental discipline, samadhi. This is the training of the heart and mind. It is the work of taming our wild, distractible attention and cultivating a calm, stable, and unified consciousness. This is where we develop the inner strength to stay present with our experience. This training includes right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Wisdom Panya. This is the supreme goal and the guiding light of the entire path. It is the direct experiential seeing of reality as it truly is, impermanent, anicca, unsatisfactory, dukkha, and devoid of a fixed independent self, anatta. This training includes right understanding and right intention. Wisdom guides our efforts, which are grounded in ethical conduct and empowered by mental discipline. Let us now walk through each of these 8 beautiful strands one by one. 1. Right understanding, samadhi. This is the first strand, and it is the compass for the entire journey. Without right understanding, we are walking blind. It means having the correct map of the territory. What is this map? It is precisely the 4 noble truths. Right understanding is the clear seeing that there is suffering, that it has a cause. Craving, that it can cease, and that the Eightfold Path is the way to that cessation. It is the intellectual and eventually the intuitive grasp of the core laws of existence, that all things are impermanent, that clinging to the impermanent leads to unsatisfactoriness, and that there is no solid self to be found within these changing phenomena. It is the difference between wandering aimlessly in the woods and walking with a map that shows your location, your destination, and the trail that connects them. Initially, this understanding might be borrowed from the teachings, but through the practice of the other 7 factors, it ripens into your own direct, unshakable insight. 2. Right intention, Sama Sankappa. If right understanding is the map, right intention is the act of deciding which direction to walk. It is the conscious alignment of our heart's resolve with the wisdom we are cultivating. It is about purifying our motivations. Our intentions shape our world. An action performed with an intention of generosity feels vastly different from the same action performed with an intention of gaining recognition. The Buddha highlighted 3 specific right intentions that stand in direct opposition to the 3 poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion. The intention of renunciation. This is the antidote to craving. It is the intention to let go, to simplify, to release our clinging to pleasure, possessions, and identity. It is a turning away from the complex and toward the essential. The intention of goodwill. Metta, this is the antidote to hatred and ill will. It is the sincere wish for the well-being and happiness of all beings, including ourselves. It is the cultivation of a friendly, warm, and open heart. The intention of harmlessness, avihimsa. This is the antidote to cruelty and delusion. It is the intention to act with compassion, to not cause physical or emotional harm to any living creature. It is the resolve to be a gentle presence in the world. Each day, we can consciously set our intention. Today, may I meet the world with kindness. May I let go of what isn't serving me. May I cause no harm. This sets the rudder of our mind for the day's journey. 3. Right speech, samavaka. Here, the path moves from the inner world of intention to our outer expression. Our words have immense power. They can build bridges or burn them, heal or wound, clarify or confuse. Right speech is about using this power skillfully. It involves abstaining from 4 types of harmful speech. Lying, speaking what is untrue. This erodes trust with others, and more importantly with ourselves. Divisive speech, speaking in a way that sets people against one another, such as gossip or slander. This sows discord and conflict. Harsh speech, speaking with anger, cruelty, or abuse. This causes direct pain and emotional wounding. Idle chatter, speaking meaninglessly just to fill the silence. This scatters the mind and cheapens the value of communication. The positive practice of right speech is to speak only what is true, kind, helpful, and timely. A wise question to ask before speaking is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Often, we will find that silence is the most skillful form of speech. 4. Right action, samakamanta. Parallel to right speech, right action asks us to bring our physical behavior into alignment with our intentions of harmlessness and goodwill. It is about acting in a way that creates a life free from remorse. The traditional formulation involves abstaining from 3 actions: taking life, refraining from killing any living creature, taking what is not given, refraining from stealing, cheating, or taking what is not freely offered. Sexual misconduct, refraining from sexual behavior that causes harm to oneself or others, that is based on exploitation, or that breaks commitments. Living by these precepts is not about restrictive morality. It is a profound act of self-care. When you know your actions are not causing harm, your mind can be at ease. You build a foundation of deep self-respect, which is an essential condition for the calm and concentration we will cultivate later on the path. 5. Right livelihood, sama ajiva. This strand brings this practice directly into the world of work, where we spend so much of our time and energy. It encourages us to find a way to make a living that does not compromise our ethical principles. This means avoiding professions that are built on causing harm, such as those involving weapons, the exploitation of beings, or intoxicants. On a more personal level, it is about conducting ourselves within our chosen profession with integrity and honesty. It is asking the question, does my work contribute to the well-being of the world, or does it contribute to its suffering? Finding a way to align our work with our deepest values is a powerful way to integrate the path into the very fabric of our lives. 6. Right effort. Samavayama. This is where we begin the training of the mind itself, samadhi. Right effort is one of the most vital and often misunderstood factors. It is not about forceful, white-knuckled striving. It is about applying wise, consistent, and balanced energy to the cultivation of our minds. It is the gentle but persistent effort of a gardener tending their soil. The practice has 4 aspects: preventing the arising of unwholesome states like anger, greed, or jealousy that have not yet arisen, abandoning unwholesome states that have already arisen, cultivating wholesome states like kindness, generosity, or mindfulness that have not yet arisen, maintaining wholesome states that have already arisen. This is a practice of skillful awareness. We learn to recognize what nourishes our peace and what disturbs it, and we gently, consistently apply our energy toward nourishment and away from disturbance. 7. Right mindfulness, samasati. Right. Mindfulness is the heart of Buddhist meditation and the cornerstone of mental discipline. It is the capacity to pay attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. It is a clear, non-reactive awareness of what is happening, both within us and around us as it is happening. We train this capacity through formal meditation, often focusing on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of the body, awareness of the breath, physical sensations, and bodily postures. Mindfulness of feelings, sensations. Awareness of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings as they arise and pass away. Mindfulness of the mind, consciousness. Awareness of thoughts, moods, and states of mind. E.g., the mind is distracted, the mind is calm. Mindfulness of Dhammas, awareness of the core principles of reality as they manifest in our experience, e.g., seeing the 5 aggregates or the presence of craving in real time. Right mindfulness is the quality that allows us to see clearly enough to apply right effort. It pulls us out of autopilot and brings us home to the reality of the present moment. 8. Right concentration, samasamadhi. As mindfulness becomes more stable and effort more consistent, the mind naturally develops right concentration. This is the ability to unify the mind and rest its attention on a single object without distraction. While mindfulness is a broad, open awareness, concentration is a focused, collected awareness. It is the development of a mind that is calm, steady, and powerful. This stability is not an end in itself. It creates the ideal inner environment, a mind that is like a still, clear lake in which the profound insights of wisdom panya can arise with transformative power. It is the stable platform from which we can see the deepest truths of our existence. A guided reflection, walking the path today. The Eightfold Path is not an ideal to be achieved in the future. It is a set of tools to be used right now. Take a moment to reflect on your day so far through this lens. Ask yourself these questions with gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. Right understanding. Where in my day did I see things clearly? Where was my view clouded by old stories or assumptions? Right intention. What motivations were behind my main actions today? Were they rooted in kindness and letting go, or in fear and craving? Right speech. Were my words true, kind, and helpful? Did I engage in any gossip or harsh speech, even subtly? Right action. Were my actions harmless? Did I treat others and myself with respect? Right livelihood. How did I feel about my work today? Did it feel aligned with my values? Right effort. Did I notice any unwholesome mind states? Did I make a gentle effort to let them go? Did I try to cultivate a moment of kindness or patience? Right mindfulness. Was there a moment when I was truly present? A moment I noticed my breath, or the taste of my food, or the feeling of the ground beneath my feet? Right concentration. Was there a time when my mind felt settled and focused, even for a few seconds? Do not use this as a report card to judge yourself. Use it as a compassionate mirror. See where the path is already alive in you. See where the next gentle step might be. This is how the path is walked, not in giant leaps, but in one mindful, intentional, and compassionate step at a time. This is the medicine. And now we know how to take it. But even with the right medicine, the patient's mind can create its own obstacles. Our next chapter will explore one of the most subtle traps on the path, the ambition to be a perfect patient. The trap of arrival. Practicing with a no-gaining mind. We have walked a significant distance on our journey home. We began by recognizing the exhausting illusion of self-fixing. We then courageously looked through the lens of anatta, seeing that the self we were trying so hard to perfect is not a solid entity but a fluid, ever-changing process. With this insight, we were ready to receive the Buddha's compassionate diagnosis in the Four Noble Truths, which gave us a clear map of our dis-ease and its cause. Finally, in the last chapter, we were given the prescription, the Noble Eightfold Path, a holistic guide for walking the middle way to freedom. We now have the map and the instructions. A sincere desire to follow the path burns within us. We commit to right understanding, we cultivate right intention, and we begin the diligent work of right effort and right mindfulness. We feel a sense of purpose and clarity. And right here at this crucial juncture, a new and exquisitely subtle trap springs open. It is a trap so clever that it disguises itself as the path itself. It is the trap of spiritual ambition. It is the transformation of the path from a practice of liberation into a project of achievement. The ego, that master of survival we have been investigating, is wily. Seeing that it cannot win by keeping us in gross forms of craving, it changes its strategy. It co-opts the spiritual journey itself. It whispers, "Yes, this path is wonderful. Now let's become the best practitioner. Let's achieve nibbana. Let's attain deep states of concentration. Let's become an enlightened person, someone calm, wise, and admired." Suddenly, the beautiful, spacious practice of the Eightfold Path becomes another ladder to climb. Meditation is no longer a space to rest in awareness. It becomes a performance to be graded. Was that a good sit? Did my mind wander too much? Why haven't I had a profound insight yet? Am I doing this right? The peace that we tasted in the beginning vanishes, replaced by a familiar tension, a subtle striving, a new form of dukkha. We have, without realizing it, fallen back into the trap of becoming. We have simply traded our old renovation project for a new, more spiritual-looking one. We are no longer trying to fix the old house. We are now trying to build a magnificent cathedral of enlightenment, and we are just as anxious about the construction. This is the tyranny of the gaining mind. It is the belief that peace, wisdom, and freedom are things to be acquired in the future, possessions to be added to our spiritual resume. The truth, as pointed to by many masters, particularly within the Zen tradition, is that the very act of seeking and grasping for enlightenment is what pushes it away. Liberation is not found at the end of the path. Liberation is the quality of awareness with which we walk the path, moment by moment. Mushotoku, the spirit of no gaining. In Zen, there is a core concept known as Mushotoku, a Japanese term that translates to no gaining, no profit, or no attainment. It is the spirit of practicing for the sake of practice itself without any thought of reward or achievement. It is to sit in meditation, simply to sit, to walk, simply to walk, to breathe, simply to breathe. It is the complete abandonment of a goal. This is not an easy concept for our goal-oriented minds to grasp. We are conditioned to believe that effort must be directed toward a result. But Mushotoku points to a deeper truth. When we practice with a gaining mind, our attention is split. Part of our mind is in the present, trying to be mindful of the breath, but another larger part is in the future, assessing our progress, comparing our experience to what we've read in books, and craving a particular outcome. This very division creates tension and prevents the deep, unified state of presence we are supposedly seeking. The craving to attain a spiritual state is still a form of tanha. It is a refined version of bhava tanha, the thirst to become. And as the second noble truth teaches us, wherever there is tanha, there will be dukkha. The anxiety of, am I there yet, is fundamentally no different from the anxiety of, have I gotten the promotion yet? The source of the friction is the same. The belief that happiness is over there in the future, and not right here in this present moment. The paradox is this true peace, true arrival, happens only in the moment you completely and utterly give up trying to arrive. It is in the total surrender to the present moment, exactly as it is, that the searching mind comes to rest. The treasure is not buried at the end of the path. The treasure is discovered by paying full attention to the feeling of your feet on the path itself. Let's imagine a character Liam. Liam starts meditating and finds it wonderful. For the first few weeks, he simply enjoys the quiet and the space it creates in his life. But then, he starts reading more. He learns about Samadhi Jhana Kensho Satori. He reads stories of monks having profound breakthroughs. His practice changes. Now when he sits on his cushion, he is no longer resting. He is hunting. He is searching for special states, looking for signs of progress. His inner monologue during meditation becomes a checklist. Okay, focus on the breath. Is my mind quiet yet? No, a thought. Bad. I need to get more concentrated. My leg is starting to ache. This is a hindrance. Last week I felt so blissful. Why don't I feel that way today? I must be regressing. Liam's practice, once a sanctuary, has become a battlefield. It is filled with striving judgment and frustration. He is trying to force the butterfly of peace to land, and his tense, grasping energy scares it away every time. He is a victim of the gaining mind. One day, exhausted and disillusioned, he speaks with a wise teacher. The teacher listens patiently and then says, Liam, for 1 week, I want you to stop trying to meditate. Instead, I just want you to sit. Don't try to be mindful. Don't try to be calm. Don't look for any insights. If your mind wanders for the entire 20 minutes, that is your practice. If you feel bored, that is your practice. If you feel peaceful, that is your practice. Your only task is to show up and sit down with no goal whatsoever. Hesitantly, Liam agrees. The first few days are strange. His mind is used to having a project and it feels restless. But without the pressure to perform, he starts to notice things differently. He notices the restless energy without judging it as bad meditation. He feels the boredom without seeing it as a sign of failure. He is simply present with the raw reality of his experience. And then, on the 5th day, something remarkable happens. In the middle of a flurry of thoughts, he suddenly realizes he is not fighting them. He is just watching them. And in that moment of pure, non-striving awareness, a profound and unexpected peace descends upon him. It is a peace far deeper than any of the blissful states he had been chasing. It arose not because he achieved it, but because he finally stopped trying. He had tasted the spirit of Mushotoku. Effort versus striving, a crucial distinction. A common misunderstanding of the no-gaining mind is that it means we should become lazy or stop putting in any effort. This is incorrect. This is where the distinction between right effort, samavayama, and striving is so crucial. Striving is tense, goal-oriented, and future-focused. It is fueled by a sense of lack, by the belief that I am not okay now, but I will be when I get that. It is the energy of the egoic project manager. It is rigid and often violent toward our own experience, judging thoughts and feelings as good or bad. Right effort, on the other hand, is gentle, consistent, and rooted in the present. It is the simple, faithful energy of showing up. It is the effort it takes to bring your attention back to the breath for the 100th time, not with frustration, but with a patient kindness. It is the effort to stay with an unpleasant sensation instead of immediately distracting yourself. It is the effort of the gardener who consistently waters the soil and pulls the weeds without trying to violently pull the sprout out of the ground to make it grow faster. Right effort is about caring for the process, while striving is obsessed with the product. The no-gaining mind embraces right effort fully. It is a very active, alert, and engaged state. It is not a dull, passive, or checked-out state of spiritual laziness. Spiritual laziness uses the language of acceptance and letting go as an excuse to avoid the discomfort of genuine practice. The no-gaining mind, in contrast, has the courage to be with all of experience, the comfort and the discomfort, without needing to change it or get anything from it. A guided meditation, practicing for the sake of practice. Let's try to touch this spirit directly. Find your meditation posture. Allow your body to settle. Before you begin, consciously let go of any goals for this session. Release the desire to be calm. Release the desire to have a deep experience. Release the desire to have no thoughts. Release the desire to be a good meditator. Your only task is to be here for the allotted time. Set a single, simple intention. For these next few minutes, I offer my gentle, open attention to the present moment, just as it is, without needing anything in return. Now bring your awareness to the sensation of your breath. Feel the physical reality of it. Don't try to control it or perfect your focus on it. Just let the breath breathe itself. Let your awareness rest upon it like a leaf resting on the surface of a stream. Inevitably, your mind will wander. You will have thoughts. You will be distracted. This is not a mistake. This is part of the practice. When you notice your mind has wandered, the moment of noticing is the moment of mindfulness. Now, here is the crucial part. Observe the next thought that arises. Very often, it will be a thought from the gaining mind. Oh, I got distracted again. I'm no good at this. Or, I need to focus harder. See this thought clearly. Recognize it for what it is, the striving mind, the gaining mind. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to fight it. Just label it softly in your mind: gaining, striving, judging. And then, with the kindness you would offer a lost child, gently guide your attention back to the simple physical sensation of your next breath. Not because you are trying to achieve a silent mind, but because that is the practice. The practice is not about staying with the breath. The practice is the act of returning over and over with gentleness. Each return is a revolutionary act of letting go of the goal. Each return is a moment of practicing with a no-gaining mind. Continue this for a few minutes. Let the goal be the process itself. Let the achievement be the simple act of showing up for your own life right here, right now, without agenda. When you are ready to end, take a moment to notice the quality of your mind. Without the pressure to achieve, is there a little more space, a little more ease, a little more self-acceptance? This ease is not something you acquired. It is what was revealed when you stopped grasping. It was here all along. This is the profound secret of the path. The more you let go of trying to get somewhere, the more you realize you are already here. And here is the only place peace can ever be found. When we release the tension of striving, our awareness becomes more spacious. In this space, we can begin to see ourselves and others more clearly, not as projects to be improved or competitors in a spiritual race, but as fellow travelers on a mysterious journey. This opens the heart in a new way, preparing us to explore the challenges of comparison and the profound joy of connection. The poisoned mirror, letting go of comparison and cultivating appreciative joy, mudita. We have journeyed inward, treading the subtle and sometimes paradoxical terrain of the spiritual path. We have faced the ego's desire to fix itself, the illusion of a solid self, the fundamental truths of our condition, the elegant structure of the Eightfold Path, and the clever trap of the gaining mind. As the inner striving for spiritual achievement begins to quiet down, and we start to rest in the simple, goalless act of being present, a new landscape of the mind is revealed. The inner noise has subsided, but now we may notice a different kind of disturbance, one that is activated not by our own ambition, but by the world around us. Even when you have let go of chasing a perfect version of yourself, the mind's deep-seated habit of measuring and evaluating does not simply vanish. It often just changes its strategy. It stops looking inward for flaws and starts looking outward sideways at the lives of others. The quiet, insidious whisper emerges, "Someone else is doing better." This is the voice of comparison, one of the most deeply ingrained and painful afflictions of the human mind. It is a poisoned mirror. We look into it hoping to see our own reflection, but instead, we see a distorted image of ourselves measured against a curated, incomplete image of another. In an instant, the spacious peace we have so carefully cultivated can shatter. A single post on social media, a piece of good news from a friend, a colleague's success. Any of these can trigger the familiar, sickening lurch of envy and inadequacy. The calm, open sky of our awareness suddenly fills with the dark, heavy storm clouds of jealousy, resentment, and self-doubt. This habit is not a personal failing. It is a feature of the untrained mind, a survival mechanism from a time when social standing was directly linked to survival. But in our modern world, this mechanism has become a primary engine of dukkha. It is fueled by the fundamental illusion of a separate self anatta that is in constant zero-sum competition with other separate selves. The comparing mind operates from a deeply ingrained scarcity mindset, believing that happiness, success, peace, and love are finite resources. If someone else gets a large piece of the pie, there is less left for me. In our hyper-connected digital age, this ancient habit is amplified to an unbearable degree. We carry in our pockets a device that endlessly streams a highlight reel of other people's lives. We are not comparing ourselves to our neighbors anymore. We are comparing our messy, behind-the-scenes reality to the perfectly lit, filtered, and edited final cut of billions of other people. It is a game that is impossible to win, designed to leave us in a perpetual state of feeling less than. The path to freedom does not lie in trying to win this unwinnable game, or in isolating ourselves from the world. It lies in learning to look at the poisoned mirror without believing the distorted reflection it shows. It lies in cultivating the direct antidote to envy, a beautiful and powerful quality of the heart known as mudita. Mudita, the unbounded joy. Mudita is a Pali word that translates to appreciative joy or sympathetic joy. It is the ability to feel genuine, selfless delight in the happiness, success, and good fortune of others. It is one of the four Brahma Viharas, or divine abodes, four sublime states of heart alongside loving kindness, metta-compassion, karuna, and equanimity, upekkha. If compassion is the heart's response to the suffering of others, mudita is the heart's response to their joy. To a mind steeped in comparison, this can sound like an impossible, almost superhuman feat. How can we possibly feel happy about someone else getting the very thing we desperately want? The key is to understand that mudita is not a feeling that we are expected to have automatically. It is a skill we can cultivate. It is a muscle of the heart that through patient and sincere practice can be strengthened. The direct opponent of mudita is envy, issa, and jealousy. Envy says, "You have something I want and I feel diminished by it." It creates a painful sense of separation and bitterness. It walls off our heart. Mudita dissolves those walls. It recognizes that joy is not a limited commodity. Another person's light does not extinguish our own. In fact, a world with more light is a better place for everyone. Mudita is the radical understanding that our happiness is interconnected. To cultivate mudita, it is helpful to understand its near enemy and far enemy. The far enemy is obvious envy and jealousy. The near enemy is more subtle. It is exuberance, giddiness, or a kind of vicarious excitement that is still tinged with self-interest. For example, feeling happy that your friend won the lottery because you hope they will share the money with you is not true mudita. True mudita is selfless. It rejoices in the other person's happiness for their sake, without any thought of what's in it for me. Let's imagine a character, Chloe. Chloe is a dedicated writer. She has been working on her novel for years, pouring her heart onto the page. She has a sincere mindfulness practice and is learning to be more at peace with herself. One morning, she opens her laptop and sees an announcement. A writer she knows from a workshop years ago, Ben has just landed a massive book deal for his debut novel. It's the exact kind of deal Chloe has been dreaming of. Instantly, the poison from the mirror floods her system. A hot, tight clenching seizes her stomach. Her heart starts to pound. The inner monologue begins its vicious assault. Why him? His writing wasn't even that good. I've been working so much harder. It's not fair. I'll never make it. What's the point of even trying? My own small progress is worthless now. The spacious peace she had felt just moments before has completely vanished, replaced by a bitter, isolating sense of failure. This is a critical moment. The old habit would be to feed the story, to spend the rest of the day stewing in resentment, perhaps looking for flaws in Ben's work, or spiraling into despair about her own. But Chloe, having walked this path, has other tools. She decides to practice mindfulness of the feeling first. She doesn't try to suppress the envy. She acknowledges its presence with brutal honesty and non-judgment. She closes her eyes and feels the raw physical sensations. Ah, this is envy, she notes. It feels like a hot knot in my solar plexus. There is tightness in my chest. My thoughts are racing. She is not the envy. She is the awareness that knows the envy is present. This creates a sliver of space. Self-compassion, metta. She recognizes that this feeling is incredibly painful. Instead of scolding herself for being envious, she offers herself kindness. She places a hand on her heart and whispers, "This is really painful. It's okay to feel this way. May I be gentle with myself in this moment of suffering." She is treating her own pain with the care it deserves. Cultivating mudita, this is the most challenging step. The mind will resist it fiercely. She doesn't try to force a feeling of joy. Instead, she starts with an intention. She consciously turns her attention away from her own sense of lack and towards Ben. She imagines how he must have felt when he got the news. The years of hard work, the rejection, the doubt, and now this moment of triumph and relief. She tries to connect with his joy. She begins to silently repeat a phrase. Ben has found great success and happiness. He worked for this. He must feel so much joy. May his happiness continue. May he be free from the anxieties that can come with success. The first time she says it, it feels false, like a lie. Her mind screams, "I don't mean this." But she persists. She repeats the phrase again with as much sincerity as she can muster. It is like planting a seed in frozen ground, but she keeps watering it with her intention. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, something begins to shift. The tight knot in her stomach loosens its grip just a little. The heat of envy cools slightly. A tiny crack appears in the wall around her heart. She realizes in that moment that Ben's success does not actually take anything away from her. His story is his story. Her story is hers. They are not in competition. The universe has enough space for both of them to shine. In that moment of release, Chloe feels a profound sense of freedom. The suffering did not come from Ben's success. It came from her own comparison. By transforming the envy into even a small flicker of mudita, she has reclaimed her own peace. She has refused to drink the poison from the mirror. A guided meditation, watering the seed of appreciative joy. This practice is best done when the mind is relatively calm. It is a training for the heart, so we approach it with patience. Begin by settling into a comfortable posture. Take a few deep breaths, releasing any obvious tension with each exhale. Start by cultivating a feeling of loving kindness, metta for yourself. Placing a hand on your heart, offer yourself these wishes. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. Rest in this feeling of gentle friendliness toward yourself for a few minutes. Now bring to mind a dear friend, a mentor, or a benefactor. Someone for whom you have great respect and affection. Someone whose happiness is easy for you to wish for. Picture them clearly, in your mind's eye. Think of their good qualities, their kindness, their successes, their moments of joy. As you hold them in your mind, allow your heart to share in their happiness. Silently repeat these phrases, letting the intention behind them fill your awareness. I rejoice in your good fortune. I am happy for your happiness. May your joy and success continue to grow. May you live with ease. Feel the warmth that this generates. This is the natural taste of mudita. Rest here, basking in this shared joy. Next, if you feel ready, bring to mind a neutral person. Perhaps a neighbor you see occasionally, a cashier at a store, or a coworker you don't know well. You have no strong positive or negative feelings toward them. Hold their image in your mind and consider that they, just like you, wish to be happy. Now extend the same wishes of appreciative joy to them. Just as I wish for happiness, may you be happy. I rejoice in whatever good fortune comes your way. May you be successful and live with joy. Notice how this practice begins to dissolve the feeling of them being a stranger. It builds a bridge of connection. The final and most advanced stage is to work with a difficult person, someone for whom you feel a flicker of envy, jealousy, or competitiveness. Approach this stage with great care. If the feeling is too strong, return to the neutral or dear person. Do not force it. If you are ready, bring this person to mind. First, acknowledge the difficult feelings that arise. Meet them with mindfulness and self-compassion, as Chloe did. Then, before attempting mudita, first cultivate compassion, karuna. This person, like me, experiences suffering. May they be free from their suffering. Once your heart has softened with compassion, you can then attempt to plant the tiny seed of mudita. My journey is my journey, your journey is your journey. I wish you well. I will try to find joy in your happiness. May you be happy. The goal here is not to feel a sudden rush of joy for them. The goal is the sincere effort, the courageous turning of the heart toward goodwill and away from bitterness. This effort itself is transformative. Finally, release all specific images of people and allow this feeling of appreciative joy to radiate outwards in all directions. To your family, your community, your country, and to all living beings throughout the world without exception. May all beings rejoice in the good fortune of others. May all beings be happy. When you practice mudita, you are performing a radical act of spiritual alchemy. You are transforming the lead of envy into the gold of connection. You are choosing to participate in the boundless joy of the world, rather than feeling impoverished by it. You learn that joy is not a finite resource to be hoarded, but an infinite ocean to be swam in. The more you rejoice in the happiness of others, the more joy you discover in your own heart. This spacious, joyful, and connected heart is the perfect ground from which to simplify our lives, clearing away the unnecessary clutter, so that this precious state has room to breathe and flourish. The sanctuary of silence and simplicity. Decluttering the house of the mind, we have journeyed far. We have seen through the illusion of the fixed self, navigated the profound truths of our condition, walked the eightfold path, released the subtle poison of the gaining mind, and opened our hearts to the boundless potential of appreciative joy. A new sense of spaciousness may be dawning within. The tight knot of egoic striving has loosened, and the heart, freed from the chains of comparison, feels lighter and more connected to the world. But this newfound peace is like a delicate young plant. It is alive and beautiful, but it is also vulnerable. The world we live in is not by its nature a quiet monastery. It is a whirlwind of noise, complexity, and constant demands on our attention. If we are not careful, the fragile sanctuary we have built within can be quickly overwhelmed by the clutter and chaos of modern life. The spaciousness we cultivated is filled with noise, and the peace is once again lost in the static. How then do we protect this precious inner space? How do we build a container strong and serene enough to hold our peace, not by walling ourselves off from the world, but by engaging with it more wisely? The answer lies in two interwoven, potent, and deeply practical disciplines: simplicity and noble silence. These are not practices of deprivation. They are practices of clarification. They are the art of intentionally removing the non-essential from our lives so that we can give our full attention to what truly matters. Simplicity declutters our outer world, our possessions, our schedules, our digital lives. Noble silence declutters our inner world, our speech, our thoughts, our mental chatter. Together they create a sanctuary, a quiet, well-tended inner garden where the seeds of wisdom and compassion can truly flourish. The practice of simplicity, freedom through less. In a culture that worships at the altar of more simplicity is a radical act. It is often confused with the modern aesthetic of minimalism, bare white walls, and owning exactly 3 perfect shirts. While that can be an expression of its true spiritual simplicity, runs much deeper. It is not about deprivation for its own sake. It is about the intentional curation of your life to maximize freedom and minimize distraction. It is the application of the wisdom of renunciation nekama, not as a harsh rejection of life's pleasures, but as a joyful turning away from the complex and burdensome toward the nourishing and essential. Every object we own, every commitment we make, every piece of information we consume carries a psychic weight. Simplicity is the practice of setting down that unnecessary weight. Let's explore decluttering in 3 key areas. Simplicity of possessions. Look around your living space. Every object you see makes a subtle demand on you. It demands to be cleaned, stored, maintained, and insured. It demands a piece of your attention. More profoundly, we use possessions to construct and buttress our identity. The car we drive, the clothes we wear, the books on our shelves, all become part of the story of me. When we own fewer things, we have less to manage, less to worry about, and less of our identity tied up in external objects. The practice begins with a simple, honest question for each item. Does this object truly support my well-being and my peace? Or is it a distraction? Letting go of what is not essential is not a loss. It is a profound gain of space-time and mental clarity. Simplicity of time. In our culture, busy has become a synonym for important. A packed calendar is often worn as a badge of honor. But if we look honestly beneath the surface of this frantic activity, we often find a deep-seated fear of stillness. We use busyness to avoid the discomfort of being alone with ourselves, to numb our anxieties, and to prove our worth. Simplicity of time means reclaiming our lives from the cult of productivity. It means learning the immense power of the word no, not as a rejection of others, but as a fierce protection of your own inner sanctuary. It means intentionally carving out unstructured time in your schedule time with no agenda, no goal other than to simply be. This fallow time is not wasted. It is essential. It is when the nervous system regulates, insights arise, and the soul gets to breathe. By doing less, we discover we can be more present, more connected, and more joyful in the activities we do choose to engage in. Simplicity of information. We are the first humans in history to face the challenge of infinite information. Our phones are portals to a ceaseless torrent of news, opinions, outrage, and curated images. This constant influx fragments our attention, hijacks our dopamine systems, and keeps our nervous systems in a state of low-grade fight-or-flight alert. Digital simplicity is a vital modern practice. It can mean turning off all non-essential notifications, curating your social media feeds to be inspiring, rather than agitating unsubscribing from email lists that clutter your inbox, and practicing a digital Sabbath one day, or even just a few hours a week where you intentionally disconnect from all screens. When you reduce the input, your mind naturally becomes quieter. You reclaim your most precious resource, your own focused attention. The power of noble silence. As we begin to declutter our outer world, we create the conditions for a quieter inner world. This is where we engage with the practice of noble silence. Like simplicity, this is not what it first appears. It is not merely the absence of talking. It is the intentional refraining from any speech, verbal or mental, that is not necessary, true, and kind. It is about stepping back from the ceaseless compulsion to comment, explain, defend, and narrate our experience. We speak for 1,000 reasons, and many of them are neurotic. We speak to fill an awkward silence because stillness feels threatening. We speak to perform our intelligence or wit, hoping to impress others. We speak to defend our fragile ego when it feels challenged. We speak to gossip, which gives us a false sense of intimacy and superiority. We speak simply to distract ourselves from an uncomfortable feeling. So much of our speech is not communication. It is noise generated by anxiety. Noble silence is the practice of interrupting this habit. By choosing silence, we create the space for deep listening. When we are not busy formulating our next response, we can truly hear what another person is saying. More importantly, when we quiet the outer voice, we can begin to hear our own inner voice. Not the chattering of the surface mind, but the deeper currents of our heart. In the silence, our unmet longings, our hidden griefs, and our quiet wisdom can finally come to the surface to be seen and held. At first, this practice can be intensely uncomfortable. The mind addicted to distraction rebels. You may feel a surge of restlessness, anxiety, or boredom. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is the mind detoxing from its addiction to noise. It is the raw, unedited truth of your inner state finally being allowed to emerge. If you can stay with this discomfort without running from it, something remarkable happens. The storm passes, the restlessness subsides, and on the other side is a silence that is not empty, but profoundly full. It is a silence that is peaceful, alive, and deeply healing. Let's imagine a character, Sarah. Sarah's life is the epitome of modern overload. Her job is demanding, her social life is packed. Her apartment is full of things she bought to make herself feel better, and her phone buzzes with a constant stream of notifications. She feels fragmented, stressed, and perpetually behind. She tells everyone she is so busy, but privately, she feels a deep sense of emptiness. Her life feels like a whirlwind she is caught in with no control. One weekend, feeling utterly burnt out, she decides to try an experiment. She creates a sanctuary weekend for herself. On Friday night, she puts her phone in a drawer and tells her friends she is going offline. She spends Saturday morning going through just one closet, boxing up everything she hasn't used in a year. The act itself feels surprisingly liberating. She then clears one corner of her living room, leaving only a chair and a single plant. This is her sanctuary space. The first few hours are agonizing. Her mind screams with a phantom limb syndrome for her phone. She feels an overwhelming urge to do something clean, organize, call someone. The inner chatter is deafening, a relentless critique of her life and this pointless experiment. She feels more anxious than ever. Remembering a piece of advice, she doesn't fight it. She goes to her cleared corner, sits in the chair, and just allows the restlessness to be there. She watches it, like a storm, feeling its energy, without getting swept away. Slowly, painstakingly, as Saturday afternoon unfolds, the storm begins to subside. The waves of anxiety become less frequent. The inner critic runs out of steam. In the growing quiet, she starts to notice things she hasn't noticed in years. The intricate pattern of the leaf on her plant. The way the afternoon light slants across the floor, painting it gold. She makes a cup of tea and for the first time, she can remember, does nothing else. She just sits and tastes the tea, feeling its warmth, smelling its aroma. A feeling of profound, simple peace begins to well up inside her. It's a feeling she recognizes from a distant childhood, a peace that has nothing to do with achievement and everything to do with presence. By Sunday evening, Sarah feels like a different person. The emptiness she felt has been replaced by a sense of fullness. She realizes her problem was not that her life was too full, but that her attention was too broken. The constant clutter and noise had been preventing her from ever truly arriving in her own life. By creating a small sanctuary of outer and inner silence, she had finally come home. A guided practice, creating a micro-sanctuary. You do not need an entire weekend to touch this piece. You can create a micro-sanctuary in any moment. This is a practice of returning to your senses. Find a place to sit quietly for just 2 minutes. First sight. Let your eyes rest gently on one object in front of you. It could be a cup, a pen, a crack in the wall. Don't label it or analyze it. Simply receive the visual information, its colors, its shape, its texture. Let your eyes be soft. See what it is like to look without striving. Second sound. Gently close your eyes. Allow your ears to open. Listen to the soundscape around you as if it were a symphony. Hear the most distant sound you can detect. Then, hear the closest sound, perhaps the sound of your own breathing. Notice the sounds in between. Don't judge them as good or bad. Just let them be sounds. Listen also to the silence that holds all the sounds. Third touch. Bring your awareness to the points of contact. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the chair supporting your body. Feel the subtle sensation of the air on your exposed skin, your hands, your face. Feel the texture of your clothing. Simply rest in the world of physical sensation. This simple practice is a powerful act of decluttering. For these few moments, you have stepped out of the noisy, abstract world of thought and returned to the simple, direct, and peaceful world of the senses. You have created a sanctuary in the midst of your day. Simplicity and silence are not about making your life smaller. They are about making it deeper. They are the courageous and compassionate acts of weeding the garden of your life. When you clear away the weeds of clutter, complexity, and noise, you create the rich, fertile ground for the flowers of peace, clarity, and wisdom to grow. And in the quiet, spacious sanctuary you have created, you may find that some old ghosts, some unresolved pains finally feel safe enough to come out of hiding, to be met with the light of your awareness. The unburdened heart. The healing power of forgiveness and loving kindness. Metta. We have created a sanctuary. Through the practices of simplicity and silence, we have decluttered the outer and inner landscapes of our lives, building a quiet, spacious container for our peace. We have turned down the volume of the world's incessant demands and the mind's neurotic chatter. We sit in this newfound stillness, and it is here in the quiet that we may discover we are not entirely alone. We are joined by ghosts. These are the ghosts of our past, the phantom aches of old wounds, the heavy presence of unresolved anger, the lingering shame of our own mistakes. Even in the most serene moments, a memory can surface, a name can be uttered, and instantly, the heart constricts, the body tenses, and the hard, familiar shell of resentment or guilt forms around us. We realize that while we may have cleared the room of clutter, we are still carrying the heaviest baggage of all, locked deep within our own hearts. There can be no true or lasting freedom without forgiveness. It is the keystone in the arch of liberation. Without it, our peace will always be conditional, our stillness fragile, and our hearts partitioned, with certain doors locked and bolted too painful to open. We may practice mindfulness diligently, but if we are still carrying the hot coal of a grudge, we will inevitably get burned. To even hear the word forgiveness can be challenging. The mind immediately rebels, offering a litany of valid objections. But they don't deserve it. What they did was wrong. Forgiving them means letting them off the hook. It means I'm saying what happened was okay. These objections arise from a deep misunderstanding of what forgiveness truly is. In the Buddhist sense, forgiveness is not a moral favor we grant to another. It is not an act of condoning harmful behavior. It is a profound, pragmatic, and deeply compassionate act of self-liberation. The Buddha taught that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. The primary beneficiary of forgiveness is always the one who forgives. It is the courageous and merciful act of setting down your own burden, of releasing yourself from the prison of the past, of refusing to allow another person's actions to continue, causing you suffering in the present. The anatomy of a grudge. Let's look closely at the experience of holding a grudge. When we cling to resentment, we are binding ourselves to the person or event that harmed us with chains of our own making. We are forced to carry that person with us everywhere we go. We give them free rent in the most precious real estate we own, our own mind. We replay the hurtful event over and over each time, re-injuring ourselves, reactivating the pain pathways in our nervous system. This rumination keeps the wound fresh and infected. Furthermore, this unresolved anger becomes a distorted lens through which we view the entire world. It poisons our present and future relationships. A past betrayal can make us cynical and distrustful, unable to open our hearts to new connections. The pain from one relationship can bleed into the next. In this way, holding on to a grudge is allowing the person who hurt you to continue hurting you long after the original event is over. The same is true for the shame and guilt we carry for our own past mistakes. When we refuse to forgive ourselves, we chain ourselves to a past version of who we were. We sentence ourselves to a life of self-punishment, believing on some level that our continued suffering is necessary. But this self-flagellation does not lead to wisdom or prevent future mistakes. It only creates a thick fog of unworthiness that obscures our innate goodness and blocks our capacity for joy. Forgiveness, then, is the act of cutting these chains. But how? How do we forgive when the heart feels hard and the hurt feels justified? We cannot simply will it to happen. The mind cannot command the heart to open. This is where the practice of metta, or loving kindness, becomes the key. It is the gentle rain that softens the hard, compacted soil of the heart, making forgiveness possible. Metta, the softening of the heart. Metta is the first of the 4 divine abodes, a Pali word meaning loving kindness, gentle friendliness, or unconditional goodwill. It is a sincere, expansive wish for the well-being and happiness of all beings. It is not a passionate romantic or possessive love. It is a steady, warm, and all-inclusive friendliness, a baseline of kindness from which we can meet the world. Like the other qualities we have explored, metta is not a feeling we must magically conjure up. It is a quality we cultivate through patient, repetitive practice. It is often impossible to jump directly to forgiving someone who has hurt us deeply. The wound is too raw, the defensive walls too thick. The practice of metta does not ask us to do this. Instead, it invites us on a gradual journey of heart softening. We don't start with the most difficult person. We start with the easiest ourselves. Let's imagine a character, James. For years, James has been consumed by a bitter resentment toward his former business partner, Mark, who betrayed his trust and caused their company to collapse. This anger has defined James's life. He is cynical, quick to anger, and has alienated many friends. His body is in a constant state of tension. His doctor has warned him about his high blood pressure. The grudge is literally making him sick. James has been told by many people that he should just forgive and move on. But the advice feels insulting and impossible. The anger feels righteous, protective. To let it go feels like admitting defeat, like saying what Mark did was acceptable. One day, at his wit's end, James stumbles into a meditation class. The teacher does not speak of forgiving Mark. Instead, the teacher guides the class in a simple metta practice, starting with themselves. The instruction is to place a hand on the heart and silently repeat the phrases, "May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease." At first, James feels nothing but resistance. The words are hollow. His inner critic screams that he doesn't deserve to be happy. He's a failure. But he persists day after day. He treats it like an exercise. Slowly, something begins to thaw. He starts to feel the immense weight of the suffering his own anger has been causing him. For the first time, he feels a flicker of genuine compassion for himself, for the man who has been carrying this heavy, toxic burden for so long. The wish, "May I be free from this burden," begins to feel real. The teacher then instructs the students to extend the metta phrases to a loved one. James pictures his daughter. Wishing for her happiness is effortless. He feels a genuine warmth spread through his chest. He practices this for weeks, alternating between himself and his daughter, strengthening the muscle of his heart, reacquainting it with the feeling of unconditional goodwill. Only then is he guided to approach the difficult person. He is not told to forgive Mark. He is simply invited to see Mark too as a human being. The teacher says you do not need to condone his actions. Just for a moment, consider that he, like he, wishes to be happy, and that his harmful actions likely came from his own deep confusion, fear, and suffering. James brings Mark's face to mind. The old anger surges, but now it is met with the soft, steady warmth of the metta he has cultivated. The anger is no longer the only thing in his heart. From this newly softened place, he tentatively offers the intention, not directly to Mark, but into the space of his own mind. Like me, you have suffered. You have acted from your own confusion. I wish for you to be free from the greed and fear that cause such harm. May you be well. He doesn't feel a sudden flash of love, or a desire to reconcile. What he feels is a release. It's as if a tightly clenched fist in the center of his chest. A fist he didn't even realize he was making. Finally, let's go. The hot coal has been set down. He feels lighter. The world looks brighter. He hasn't freed Mark. He has freed himself. The forgiveness was not for Mark. It was the final necessary act of metta for himself. The crucial distinction: forgiveness, condoning, and boundaries. It is vital to be clear. Forgiveness is an internal release, not an external action. Forgiveness is not condoning. It does not mean what happened was okay. Harm is harm. Forgiveness is not forgetting. The memory of the event may remain, but it no longer carries the toxic emotional charge. It becomes a scar instead of an open wound, a reminder of a lesson learned, not a source of constant pain. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. You can completely forgive someone in your heart, and at the same time, wisely choose to never see or speak to them again. In fact, true forgiveness often leads to the establishment of healthier boundaries. When you are no longer blinded by reactive rage, you can see the situation with clarity. You can say no, leave a harmful situation, or protect yourself not from a place of hatred, but from a place of profound self-respect and wisdom. A guided meditation, healing the heart with metta. This practice is a gentle journey. Move through the stages at your own pace. If at any point it feels too difficult, simply return to offering metta to yourself. Find a comfortable posture and let your body soften. Place a hand on your heart if that feels supportive. Stage 1. Loving kindness for yourself. Bring your full, gentle attention to yourself. Picture yourself with kindness. Silently, slowly repeat these phrases, letting yourself receive the sentiment behind them. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong. May I be happy and content. May I live with ease and well-being. Continue for several minutes, allowing your heart to soften. This is the foundation. Stage 2. Loving kindness for a loved one. Now bring to mind a dear friend, a family member, or a benefactor, someone for whom you feel easy, uncomplicated affection. Picture them and extend the same wishes to them. May you be safe and protected. May you be healthy and strong. May you be happy and content. May you live with ease and well-being. Feel your heart expanding as you share this goodwill. Stage 3. Loving kindness for a neutral person. Bring to mind someone you see in your daily life, but have no strong feelings about: a store clerk, a neighbor. See them simply as a fellow human who, like you, wants to be happy. Offer them the same phrases. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Notice how this practice dissolves the feeling of separateness. Stage 4. Loving kindness for a difficult person, the practice of forgiveness. Approach this stage with caution and care. If you are not ready, that is perfectly okay. Return to stage 1. If you feel grounded and your heart is soft, bring to mind a person who has caused you moderate pain. First, recognize the pain in your own heart. Offer yourself compassion. Then, holding the other person in your awareness, try to see their own suffering, their own confusion. From this place, gently offer the intention: just as I wish to be free from suffering, may you be free from your suffering. I release the burden of my anger. I do this for my own peace. May you be well. The goal is not a feeling, but the sincere intention to release the poison from your own heart. Stage 5. Loving kindness for all beings. Finally, let go of all specific individuals. Allow the feeling of warm, gentle friendliness to radiate from your heart outwards in all directions. To all people, all animals, all beings near and far, seen and unseen. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. Rest in this boundless, open-hearted space. An unburdened heart is a free heart. It is light, spacious, and resilient. Having cleared away the heavy ghosts of resentment and guilt, we are now more present than ever before. This profound presence prepares us to face the most fundamental, challenging, and ultimately liberating truth: of all the ever-present reality of change itself. We are now ready to look directly into the face of impermanence. Dancing with the river, embracing the liberating truth of impermanence. Anika, we have journeyed to the very chambers of the heart, creating a sanctuary of inner quiet, and clearing away the heavy ghosts of resentment and guilt through the gentle power of loving kindness. Our hearts are now lighter, more open, and more available to the present moment than perhaps ever before. We sit in this clean, well-lighted space of our own being, and yet we may still feel a subtle, deep-seated tremor of unease. It is a fundamental tension, a quiet resistance that underlies all others. It is the fear of endings. It is the anxiety of uncertainty. It is the reflexive recoil from the one inescapable law of all conditioned existence, the law of change. We are afraid of the river. We spend our lives on its banks, trying to build dams, dikes, and levees. We desperately try to hold the water still, to freeze the perfect moments to prevent the unwelcome currents from reaching our shore. We believe that security lies in permanence, that peace can only exist if things stay the way we want them to. This struggle against the fundamental nature of reality is the deepest source of our existential friction. We are trying to nail the sky to the floor, and the effort is utterly exhausting. The final and most profound key to unlocking the door to lasting freedom is the direct experiential and radical acceptance of this universal truth. In Pali, this truth is called anicca, pronounced anicca. It means impermanence, inconstancy, transience. It is the first of what are known as the three marks of existence. Tilakkhana, the three fundamental characteristics of all phenomenal reality. The other two, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, non-self, are inextricably linked to it in a beautiful and elegant equation of reality. The Buddha's insight was this: because all conditioned things are impermanent. Anicca, our clinging to them as if they were permanent, is a direct cause of our suffering and unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. And because all things are just a ceaseless flow of impermanent processes, upon close inspection, no solid, unchanging, independent self, anatta, can be found anywhere within them. Understanding anicca is not an intellectual exercise. It is the master key that unlocks the other two truths and reveals the path to liberation. To embrace anicca is not to adopt a depressing or nihilistic worldview. It is the opposite. It is to finally align ourselves with the way things actually are, and in that alignment, to find a peace that is dynamic, resilient, and breathtakingly beautiful. It is to stop fighting the river and instead to learn how to dance with it. The two flavors of impermanence. We can experience anicca on two levels, gross and subtle. Gross impermanence is the change we can easily see in the world around us. The shifting of the seasons from the tender green shoots of spring to the stark bareness of winter. The aging of our own bodies visible in the mirror. The beginning and ending of relationships. The rise and fall of civilizations. We intellectually accept this level of change, though we often resist it emotionally. We know the summer will end, but we still feel a pang of sadness on the first cool day of autumn. Subtle, moment-to-moment impermanence is the direct insight cultivated through mindfulness practice. This is seeing change not over years or days, but from second to second. It is the direct perception that a single in-breath has a beginning, a middle, and an end, that a single thought flashes into existence and vanishes without a trace, that a sensation of warmth in your hand is actually a flickering, vibrating field of constant change. It is seeing that reality is not a series of static snapshots, but a continuous, flowing motion picture. It is in this direct cellular seeing of moment-to-moment change that the grip of clinging truly begins to dissolve. Our entire ego structure is a frantic, lifelong project to deny this truth. We crave security, so we build our identities on things we believe are stable: our career, our reputation, our relationships, our beliefs. We are like a person building a magnificent stone house on the surface of a frozen river, desperately hoping the spring thaw will never come. But the thaw always comes. The river of life is always flowing. To embrace anicca is to learn to live gracefully on a boat, or better yet, to learn how to swim. Let's explore this through two brief stories. First, imagine Emily. She is having a perfect day at the beach with her young children. The sun is warm, but not too hot. The children's laughter echoes in the air. The sandwiches are delicious, and a feeling of pure, unadulterated joy fills her heart. This is a moment she wishes could last forever. As the afternoon wears on and the sun begins to dip toward the horizon, a shadow falls over her heart. It's an ache of anticipatory grief. She finds herself not enjoying the spectacular beauty of the sunset, but mourning its passing while it is still happening. She frantically takes pictures, trying to capture and possess the moment. But this very act of grasping pulls her out of the direct, joyful experience of it. Her resistance to the day's end, her clinging to the pleasant feeling, has become a source of suffering, viparinama dukkha, poisoning the very beauty she wishes to preserve. Now, consider Daniel. Daniel is in the midst of a period of intense stress at work. He feels overwhelmed, anxious, and trapped. His initial instinctual reaction is resistance. This is unbearable, he thinks. I can't take this. It has to stop. This mental fighting, this aversion to his present reality, only adds another layer of suffering on top of the stress itself. It's like being caught in quicksand and struggling frantically, which only makes you sink faster. Remembering his mindfulness practice, Daniel tries a different approach. He decides to stop fighting the experience and instead to observe it with curious moment-to-moment attention. He sits down for a few minutes and turns his awareness inward. He doesn't label the whole experience as stress. He breaks it down. He notices, there is a tightness in my chest. There is a rapid heartbeat. There are thoughts of future deadlines appearing in the mind. The tightness in the chest is now a little less tight. The thoughts are fading. Now a new thought has appeared. He watches this inner storm not as a solid, terrifying entity, but as a dynamic, ever-changing weather pattern. He is not trying to like the feeling, but he has stopped going to war with it. By embracing its impermanent nature, by seeing it as a flow rather than a fixed state, he finds a small pocket of peace within the storm. The external causes of stress may still be there, but his relationship to them has been fundamentally altered. He has stopped trying to dam the river of his experience and is instead just watching it flow by. This is the profound freedom anicca offers. The great unveiling. When we truly, deeply begin to live with an awareness of impermanence, it changes everything. It transforms our relationship to pleasure and pain. We stop clinging desperately to pleasant moments, which allows us to enjoy them more fully and purely while they are here. We stop resisting painful moments with such terror, knowing that they too will pass. We learn to surf the waves of life rather than being crushed by them. It deepens our compassion. When we see the inherent fragility and transience of our own existence, our hearts naturally soften toward others. We see that they too are caught in the same dance of arising and passing. Our judgments loosen, and our capacity for empathy and kindness grows. It heals our grief. Grief is the natural and painful response to loss. But much of the prolonged suffering of grief comes from our disbelief and resistance. We are shocked that something we loved is gone, because on some level, we believed it would last forever. Embracing anicca does not eliminate the pain of loss, but it allows us to grieve with more grace. We can hold our sorrow with the tender understanding that loss is a natural part of a life where nothing is permanent. It makes every moment precious. Paradoxically, knowing that nothing lasts makes the present moment infinitely more valuable. When we are not lost in regretting the past or planning for the future, we begin to notice the stunning beauty of the ordinary. The taste of a cup of tea, the feeling of rain on our face, the sound of a loved one's voice, these simple, fleeting moments become sacred. We stop sleepwalking through our lives, waiting for some big event. We realize that life is only ever happening right now, in this one unrepeatable, precious moment. A guided meditation, watching the flow of change. This practice is a direct inquiry into the nature of anicca. Settle into your posture. Let your body be still. Let your mind be curious. 1. The breath is a river. Bring your attention to your breath. Don't just watch it. Investigate its transient nature. Notice the precise moment the in-breath begins. Follow its entire arc as it swells and crests. Then notice the distinct moment it turns and becomes the out-breath. Follow the out-breath all the way to its end, to the stillness that follows. See each breath as a complete lifetime, a birth, a life, and a death. Notice that no two breaths are ever identical. You are witnessing the river of life in its most intimate form. 2. The body as a field of sensation. Expand your awareness to include your entire body. Let your attention drift through your feet, your legs, your torso, your arms, your head. Instead of looking for solid parts, look for sensations: tingling, warmth, coolness, pressure, vibration, itching. Notice that none of these sensations are static. They flicker, pulse, shift, and change. See if you can perceive your body, not as a solid object, but as a vast, vibrant, and constantly changing field of energy and sensation. This is the direct experience of anicca in the aggregate of form. 3. The mind as the sky. Now, turn your awareness to the mind itself. Observe the thoughts that float through it. You don't need to read them or follow their stories. Just watch them as events. See a thought arise from nowhere, like a bubble rising from the deep. Watch it linger for a moment in the space of your awareness, and then watch it dissolve back into the nothingness from which it came. See that you are not the author of these thoughts. You are the space in which they appear and disappear. 4. The world as a symphony of change. Gently open your awareness to include sounds. Listen to the soundscape around you. A car passes, a bird sings, the house creaks. Notice that each sound has a birth, a life, and a death. Each one is a fleeting event in the vast silence. They arise, they are known, and they pass away. Rest now in this unified field of awareness, seeing everything: your breath, your body, your thoughts, the world, as a seamless, interconnected, and magnificent dance of arising and passing. There is nothing to hold on to. There is nothing to resist. There is only this beautiful, transient, ever-changing flow. Feel the profound peace that comes from surrendering to this truth. This is the peace of the river, which finds its power not in being still, but in flowing without resistance. To live with anicca is to live with reverence and without fear. It is to hold the whole world with an open hand, appreciating its beauty, without needing to possess it. It strips away all that is false and reveals what is truly reliable, not any particular state or object, but the spacious, clear awareness that witnesses this entire magnificent dance. This embodied wisdom is the culmination of our inner work. Now, all that is left is to take this unburdened heart, this clear mind, this profound understanding, and learn how to live it, how to breathe it, how to embody it in every step we take in the world. Bringing the practice home, living an embodied awakened life. We have arrived at the end of our journey on these pages, but at the true beginning of our journey in the world. We have walked a long and winding path together, from the bustling, noisy marketplace of self-improvement to the quiet, open sanctuary of the heart. We began by questioning the frantic story of becoming, and heard the gentle invitation to simply be. We peered through the lens of anatta and saw that the solid self we were trying to fix was a beautiful, fluid mirage. We received the clear and compassionate diagnosis of the Four Noble Truths, which gave us a map out of our own self-created suffering. We learned to walk the Eightfold Path not as a rigid ladder, but as a graceful dance of living. We sidestepped the subtle trap of the gaining mind and discovered the joy of practicing without a goal. We learned to transform the poison of comparison into the gold of appreciative joy. We built a sanctuary with the tools of simplicity and silence. We unburdened our hearts by setting down the hot coals of resentment through the power of forgiveness. And finally, we stood in the heart of the river itself, learning to dance with the liberating universal truth of anicca, impermanence. The inner work has been deep. The insights may feel profound. A new sense of space, clarity, and peace may be present. But the ultimate purpose of this entire journey was not to collect beautiful concepts or to have profound experiences on a meditation cushion. It was not to build a serene inner world that is separate from our outer life. The ultimate purpose is integration. It is embodiment. It is the art of weaving these threads of wisdom into the very fabric of our messy, beautiful, unpredictable human lives. The goal was never to become a good meditator. The goal is to live an awakened life. The formal practice, the time we set aside to sit in silence, to walk mindfully, to cultivate metta, is like tuning an instrument. It is essential. It is where we refine our sensitivity and clarify our intention. But the rest of our life, our work, our relationships, our challenges, our joys is the concert. The purpose of tuning the instrument is to make beautiful music in the world. The shift we are now invited to make is from doing mindfulness to being mindful. Life itself becomes the practice. Life as the meditation hall. How do we take this wisdom off the cushion and carry it into the traffic jam? The difficult meeting, the family dinner, the quiet moments of joy. We do it by remembering that the principles are universal. The practice is not confined to a posture. It is expressed in our presence. In our relationships are often the arena where our practice is most tested and where its fruits are most beautiful. Listening with an anatta heart when a conflict arises with a loved one. What happens if we remember there is no solid self to defend? We can stop marshaling our arguments and preparing our rebuttals while the other person is speaking. We can actually listen. We can listen with the intention to understand their suffering, their perspective, their own clouds of fear and confusion. We recognize their angry words, not as an attack on me, but as an expression of their pain. This transforms a battle into a space of potential connection. Loving, with an anicca heart, when we deeply understand impermanence, we can love more fully and freely. We stop trying to possess or control the people we love. We release them from the burden of having to be the same person they were yesterday. We can appreciate their presence in our lives right now as the precious, fleeting gift that it is. This doesn't make our love less deep. It makes it more poignant, more present, and free from the anxiety of clinging. We love the person, not our idea of them. At our work, our professional lives are a vast field for practice. Working with a no-gaining mind, can you bring diligence, excellence, and creativity to your work without tying your entire sense of self-worth to the outcome? The practice is to find joy in the process itself, the problem-solving, the collaboration, the act of creation. When we decouple our worth from praise or promotion, we free ourselves to work with less fear and more authenticity. We can handle both success and failure with greater equanimity, seeing them both as impermanent weather patterns passing through our professional lives. Engaging with right livelihood. This becomes a living daily question. Is my work today in this meeting, in this email, aligned with my intention of harmlessness and goodwill? This doesn't always mean changing careers. It can mean changing the way we do our career. It can mean choosing not to participate in office gossip, treating colleagues with respect and mudita rather than competitiveness, and bringing a quality of mindful presence to even the most mundane tasks. With our own difficult emotions. The ultimate test of practice is not whether we still feel anger, fear, or sadness. The test is how we meet these powerful energies when they arise. The old way was to either suppress them, aversion, or to become completely consumed by them, identification. The path of embodiment is the middle way. When a wave of anger rises, we have the tools. We can be mindful. Anger is present. It feels hot in my chest. We can remember anatta. This feeling is not me. It is an impersonal energy passing through. We can meet it with the wisdom of anicca. This too will pass. We can even offer it a measure of metta. This is a painful state. May I be gentle with the one who is feeling this anger. We learn to hold our emotions with a spacious, compassionate awareness, allowing them to arise, deliver their message, and pass away without causing harm. In the altar of the ordinary, perhaps the most profound integration happens in the small, unglamorous moments of daily life. The enlightened life is not a series of dramatic lightning flash insights. It is lived in the quality of attention we bring to the ordinary. As the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, we can wash the dishes to wash the dishes, not rushing to get it over with, but being fully present with the warmth of the water, the texture of the soap, the form of the plate. In that moment, washing the dishes is a profound meditation. We can eat a meal with awareness, truly tasting each bite, feeling gratitude for the food that nourishes our body. We can feel our feet on the ground as we walk to our car. We can take 3 conscious breaths while waiting for an elevator. We can listen to the sound of the rain. This is not about adding more tasks to our day. It is about inhabiting the tasks we are already doing. It is in these simple, repeated acts of returning to the present moment that our practice builds momentum and becomes our natural way of being. The story of Chloe continued. Let us revisit Chloe the writer from Chapter 6, who was tormented by comparing herself to her successful colleague Ben. A year has passed. She has continued her practice, walking this path of integration day by day. She has just received an email. The novel she has poured her soul into for years has been rejected by her dream publisher. The old Chloe would have been utterly devastated. The rejection would have been a catastrophic validation of her deepest fear: I am a failure. Her inner critic would have had a field day, and she likely would have spiraled into a shame-filled depression for weeks, perhaps even abandoning her writing. But the Chloe who has walked this path responds differently. She reads the email, and she feels the immediate sharp sting of disappointment. It hurts. She doesn't deny this or pretend to be above it. She acknowledges the dukkha. This is painful. She takes a few deep breaths, placing a hand on her heart, and allows the feeling to be there without judgment. She offers herself metta. It's okay that this hurts. May I be kind to myself right now? The old thought arises, I am a failure. But now she recognizes it. She sees it not as a fact, but as a familiar dark cloud passing through the sky of her awareness. She remembers anatta. This is a thought of failure. It is not the truth of who I am. She feels the weight of the story but doesn't fuse with it. She gets up from her desk, and instead of spiraling, she goes for a slow, mindful walk. She feels the coolness of the air, the solid ground beneath her feet, the rhythm of her own movement. She is practicing embodiment, allowing the difficult energy to move through her body rather than getting stuck in her head. She remembers anicca, this feeling of rejection, like all other feelings, will pass. This setback is not a permanent state. Her career is not a fixed entity, but a flowing process. She returns home, and instead of seeing Ben's success as a mockery of her failure, she feels a flicker of connection. She thinks he must have faced this too. Her heart fills not with envy, but with a quiet sense of shared humanity. Her practice of mudita and compassion has rewired her heart. Chloe is still disappointed, but she is not destroyed. Her peace is no longer dependent on success. It is a deep, resilient wellspring within her. The rejection is just weather. She knows she is the sky. The next day, with a heart that is still tender but free, she opens her manuscript and begins to write again. A final invitation and a dedication. This journey is yours. The peace is yours. The freedom is yours. It has been here all along, waiting beneath the noise. The path is not a race to a finish line, but a continuous moment-to-moment process of coming home. Let us close with one final practice. Sit quietly for a moment. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breath. Feel the totality of your journey, the insights, the difficulties, the moments of clarity. Acknowledge the sincerity of your own heart, the deep longing for peace that brought you here. Now, form a gentle intention. Not a goal to achieve, but a vow to remember. A vow to meet this next moment, whatever it holds, with a little more awareness, a little more kindness, a little more space. A vow to continue this practice, not for your own benefit alone, but for the benefit of all those whose lives you touch. This is the practice of dedication of merit. Let any peace, clarity, or wisdom you have gained from this journey not stop with you. Let it be a cause for the peace and happiness of all beings. In your heart, offer this silent wish. May the peace I have found in my own heart ripple outwards. May it touch my family, my friends, my community, and all living beings. May all who are lost find their way. May all who are suffering find healing. May all beings come to know the boundless peace that is their own true home. In this final act of generosity, the self-preoccupation dissolves completely, and what remains is a heart connected to the whole of life. The journey does not end here. It begins now with your very next breath. The path is not in this book. It is beneath your feet. Take the next step. Welcome home.